Hi, I'm Liz with Liz's Crafts, and today I'm going to show you some DIYs from the Dollar Tree. So what I had in mind was to take to spend only $20 at the Dollar Tree and see how many DIYs I could do. I already had in mind which DIYs I wanted to create. So I started off with these daisies, and I got 2 bunches of those. And then they have the vinyl and the faux leather at my store, 2 for $1. So I got one of those in the black and these push pins. And then all the other stuff I needed, they really didn't have. So a lot of this stuff I had in my stash. So I had an oval. I didn't see any ovals in the Dollar Tree at all for the wood pieces. And I'm just using my Waverly Antique Wax to wax on and wax off, wipe off with a paper towel. So I brush it on and then I wipe it off with a paper towel. And mine is watered down. And then I do the back side of it too. Again, brush on and wipe off. Make sure I got around the edges. And I like that side the best. And then I had this on hand, actually. It was $5 for this bamboo set, and I'm only using 3 pieces of it. So really, if you went to the Dollar Tree and you bought bamboo pieces, it would be $3.75 and not $5. I've never seen these in a store before from the time that I bought it. And I've had it probably for a couple years. And then I'm just going to paint them with acrylic black paint that I got from Hobby Lobby. And I actually like acrylic paint better than chalk paint. In fact, my chalk paint has kind of gone thick and bad and everything like that, so I just use acrylic paint. But anyway, I paint the whole thing, all 3 of them, even the holes and in between the tines of the fork and all that. So I use my sponge dauber, which, if you know me, this is my favorite way of painting, is a sponge dauber, because it does leave a little texture on your items, and it usually only takes 1 coat of paint. And like I say, I do use acrylic, so 1 coat of acrylic paint. Now, in order to get into that little hole at the top or at the bottom of the fork, I just took a small brush and put the paint on that way. And I do that for all 3 of them. And then I use my heat gun to dry them. Now what I want to do is put EAT on my plaque, and I have these screen stencils, and I'm going to put my A on first because it's in the middle. And then I'm going to put my E and my T on just to make sure that I have enough room for them before I start this, because I don't want to start it and then not be able to do it. And then I've ruined my oval. Of course, I could always paint over it or whatever, but what a pain, right? So anyway, I figured I had enough room. I'm going to go ahead with my A. So these are stencils that kind of look like Scrabble tiles. So they do have the number on there, which I didn't want on my plaque here, but I wasn't thinking. I was just putting the ink on. And boom, there's the 1. I'm like, are you kidding me? Really? So I just took a damp paper towel and tried to wipe it away. It got most of it off. But then I take my heat gun and dry the A before I put the E on because I don't want to smear my ink. And I'm going to be careful not to do the number on this one. And it's a little crooked, but you know what? It'll work. So I dry it with my heat gun, and then I continue on with my tea. And I try to line it up the best that I can. Hoping for the best. And with these silk screen stencils, you want to make sure that they're laying flat on your blank there. They do have sticky on the back of them, because you don't want it to move around. And I'm just using black ink. And there it is. It's not too bad. And then I'm just going to take some more of my my wax, my brown wax, and put it over that one there that I had wiped off, and then I'm just going to dab it and kind of rub it in and see what happens. Okay, so now we're going to put this piece together, and I just have a little piece of jute. I've tied knots on the ends, and I'm going to put it back. I'm going to put it on the back of my spatula for a hanger. So I put down 2 blobs of hot glue, and look, you can see the heat coming off of that glue. I am so glad I did not burn myself making this video. Man, that would have given me some bad blisters. This stuff was hot. Now what I want to do is put some wood glue on my utensils and leave a blank space in between to where I can put the hot glue in there. And then I'm just going to put my sign right on top. Now you want to make sure your utensils are facing up. And then I did kind of make them to where the bottoms are kind of going into the center one. And I have this bow that I made. I just used some ribbon, and I didn't count the ribbon in the $20 because if you're a crafter, you have ribbon, you have glue, you have paint, and you have jute. So I didn't count any of that when I was doing the DIYs. I just counted the basic supplies needed to make the item. And now I'm just making sure that my little ties that are hanging down are actually hanging down. So I held them down while I added the glue so they would stay that way. And then I put it in the middle of the black and white gingham ribbon. And then this is another piece of, well, this is a piece of greenery that I got at the Dollar Tree on my shopping spree. I really didn't find much. I mean, I did spend $19, but a lot of this, they didn't have the things that I wanted. I mean, I did want to make this DIY. 3 of the DIYs that I made are 3 that I wanted to do. Another one is not one I wanted to do, but I had to switch to it because I couldn't find the supplies at the Dollar Tree. My store was, geez, it looked bare. I don't know if, you know, when I went, maybe they hadn't stocked yet. People were putting some stuff out. It wasn't a lot of stuff, but they were putting some stuff out. So maybe I just went on the wrong day. I don't know. But this piece of greenery is kind of cute. It has little balls on it, little light yellow balls. And they're the foam balls, and they fall off, and they get everywhere. And then they have static in them, and then you're finding them everywhere. Everywhere. But anyway, it is a cute piece of greenery. And there it is. It's all finished. Well, okay. So my spoon didn't quite catch. And it wasn't flush with the plaque. So I'm going to have to remedy that. So I'm going to add more hot glue, a strip on each side of what I've already added. And then I'm going to add some more hot glue on top of the hot glue that I already put on there, hoping that that would take care of it. And it did. So a piece of the jute was hanging over the edge of the spatula, so I just cut that off and trimmed it down. So now there it is. Not too bad. For the EAT sign, the oval was $1.25. The utensils were $5, but if you bought them individually, they'd be $3.75. The greenery was $1.25 for a total of $7.50 or $6.25. For this DIY, I have a hello sign that I had in my stash because, again, I didn't see any in the Dollar Tree, and I'm using my black acrylic paint. And I paint all the inside of it first, and then I paint the outside. I do not paint the back. And I use my dauber, sponge dauber, to do the pouncy. It makes a little texture on it, and it's my favorite way of painting. And I'm going to set this aside to dry, and then I'm going to take my pizza pan, take that half piece off advertising or whatever. Don't throw it away. We'll use it. And I'm just going to paint this with my black acrylic paint again. Using my sponge dauber, I'm just going to smear it all over it, and then I pounce on it. And that way you only have to do one coat. And make sure you go around the edges. And here it is done. I'm going to put that aside, and here's the piece that was on the tray, and I'm going to use it as a pattern to cut out my burlap. Now, this burlap was some that I had in my stash. It has white polka dots on it. It did come from Dollar Tree. They don't, as far as I know, they don't have any right now. At least my store doesn't. So when you see something you like at Dollar Tree, you got to buy it right then, because otherwise you're not going to get it. I still haven't learned my lesson on that one. So I'm just going to pin it down, and then I'm going to cut around it. And then I do take off some of the strands at the top. It frayed a little bit. Just going to take my pins out. And now I can get rid of that piece of paper. And then what I do is I just take my wood glue along the edges of my burlap and glue it onto my pizza pan. Now, I didn't show that. I didn't get that part recorded, but as you can see, I just use the wood glue for that. And I'm trying to figure out where I want my hello to go. And I decide that is where I want it, but it's half of it is going to be on the black and you're not going to be able to see it too well. So I wanted to lighten it up. So I'm taking my chippy brush and some white acrylic paint, and I'm just going to lightly go over it. Like, my brush is barely touching these letters. Otherwise, you're going to get way too much paint on it. I mean, I'm just barely brushing this on. I just felt like if I didn't lighten it up, you just wouldn't be able to see the hello very well. And then as you can see in the bottom right corner, I did make a bow out of some wide black and white gingham check that I got from the Dollar Tree. I had it on hand, and then with the jute, I made a finger bow. Just wrap it around your fingers and tie it together to go on top of the ribbon. And like I said in the other DIY, I don't count the ribbon and the jute as part of the $20 for the DIYs. And then I have this ribbon here. It is a burlap ribbon from the Dollar Tree. And again, I'm just going to use my wood glue and glue it down. I'm just going to do that top part right there. Just going to press that down a little bit. And then I'm going to make a hanger for the back before I continue on. So before I put my bow and my greenery on, I want to go ahead and put a hanger on the back. So I just have a little piece of jute, and I tied knots on both ends. And I'm just going to hot glue that down to the back of my pizza pan. Now, I really should have made my hanger bigger because I really did want to put it on my front door. And, you know, you get those hooks from the Dollar Tree that hang on the top of your door. But I completely forgot and made this really small hanger. And I am adding a bunch of hot glue to the knots so it doesn't come down. Although the pizza pan is really light. But I do end up putting it beside my door on the wall. So this is where I want my hello to go, and I'm going to use hot glue to do that. And I'm just going to put it on the bottom half because the top half does not sit all the way on the pizza pan. So even if I put glue on it, it wouldn't adhere to the pizza pan because it's sticking up. Probably because of the ribbon that I put on there. But I do have this hanging on my wall, so, and it's not falling apart. It's all good. And I'm just going to press it down a little bit, and then I'm taking my heat gun and I'm getting all those little spider webs off of there. And it just kind of melts it into your project and you don't see them. And now I'm going to put my bow on. So I was trying to decide, do I want it on the top? Do I want it on the bottom? I decided I want it on the top, but my tails were too long. I didn't want the tails touching the word because I want you to be able to see the whole word. So I'm going to cut those down and then glue it on. And actually glue it onto the lip, pretty much the lip of the pizza pan. And that was another thing, like I wanted to get a wood round from the Dollar Tree. And had to get the pizza pan instead. And actually, this wasn't even one of the projects that I wanted to do. They just didn't have the items I needed to do the other project, so I had to scrap that idea and pick another idea. And then I didn't get the wood round. I had to get the pizza pan. And yeah, I don't know if, like I said, if I was just there on the wrong day or what. And I'm just going to use the same greenery that I used on the previous project. So this one didn't cost anything for this project because I'd already added it into the EAT sign. So I'm just using the rest of it. And I want to make sure that my greenery is not hanging over the letters also. And I do put 3 pieces on this side and 2 pieces on the other side because that was just what was left of it. And I figured I would just use it up. You can't really tell. And then just fluffing out my bow a little bit, and that piece there got glued to my pizza pan, so I had to kind of finagle that and get it unstuck. And I was happy this piece of greenery was kind of curved a little bit. That way it went along the sides of the pizza pan. I just put the last piece on. You'll have to let me know what you think of this. So for the hello sign, the pizza pan was $1.25. The burlap was $1.25. The hello word was $1.25. The greenery was used in the previous DIY, so it didn't count. So the total was $3.75. For this DIY, I started out with one of those pumpkin cutout hanging signs. Now I had this in my stash. They do have some shorter boards at the Dollar Tree. They didn't have any of these longer ones. I did get the like the tongue depressor sticks right there that you see. I did get those at the Dollar Tree. So I'm just going to take 4 of them and put it over top of the cutout so that you don't see it, and I don't worry about the back of it. And then I'm just going to adhere it on with wood glue. So I'm just going to put wood glue all around the cutout, making sure I get the sides of the sign there. And then I just put the sticks on top of that. And that covers that up. And then I already have a hanger, so I don't have to worry about that. I don't have to cut the board down or anything. And you could paint the sticks or put the wax, Waverly wax on it if you wanted to, or any wax, whatever. But the brown wax that I used in the previous DIYs, you could use that on it if you wanted to. I just left it as is. And then what I have are these two flower picks. Now I did buy two of the daisy ones, but I only used one of them. I had bought this blue one to use in the previous DIY, but since I used the rest of the first DIY's greenery, then I had these left to use for this one. And I like it better this way than having two of the daisy ones. And I just take my burlap and I wrap the stems together. Wrap it all the way, almost to the end, but not quite. And I'm just using jute, the jute cord for that. So once I have it all wrapped, then I'm just going to take it back up towards the center and glue it down. Now, I should not have used the wood glue for this. I should have used the hot glue, but, you know, live and learn, live and learn. It finally did work, but hot glue would have been better. And then I have the vinyl, not the vinyl, the faux leather. And I had a piece of it that I had used previously that I had on hand, and I'm just going to use it, but I need to make sure the side of it is straight. So I'm going to cut the end off there, the side of it off. And I'm just using my cutter for this. It cuts it really well. And I go down it 3 times, but really you only need to do it twice. Maybe just once, I don't know. And then the piece I cut is anywhere between a 1/2 inch to 3/4 of an inch wide. Now what I want to do is take this strip and go across the board over top of the stem of the flowers there and then over to the other side. And that's how I figure where to cut it, because you do want enough space in there. You don't want it flush with the board. You want space in there to be able to put your flower stems in there. And then I'm going to take those jute gold tacks. These are square, but I'm going to put them on there like they're diamond shape. And I'm just going to use 2 of them. And I'm going to punch it through the faux leather. And then it'll punch through a tiny bit in the board, just enough to make an indentation. That way I can take the flowers off and I can finish pushing it in through the board. Now I'm going to tell you, this was not the easiest thing I've ever done. I had issues with this, but I did put it to the side of my table there. And I'm going to use my fingers, and you can see when it pops through. Right there, popped through. So that one wasn't too bad. The other side was a little more difficult. I'm not going to show that. I did use a pokey tool though. It's just a metal tool, and it kind of poked through the board for me, kind of tore it up a little bit. But anyway, I'm taking my hammer and I'm pushing the bottom of the tack, the sharp end of the tack, the rest of it that's through the board. I am knocking it down and then pounding it down towards the board. You can see there's a pretty good piece there. And I do go in, after I get both of them in, I put a lot of hot glue on there because I don't want them to scratch up the walls. And see, I did turn it so that it was more of a diamond than a square. And when you put the flowers in, You do need to go ahead and put some hot glue underneath them where the burlap is. You don't need a whole lot, but enough just to hold them there. And I wasn't liking how the daisies were looking because you couldn't really see the inside of the daisies. So you'll see in a little bit how I fix that. I'm just seeing the sides of the daisies, and I want to see the inside. So you know when it's hanging on the wall, you're not going to be able to see the inside of the daisies at all. So what I do is I bend them down. And I had to bend some of them pretty far. Some of them I just bent a little bit, but like this first one there, I bent it quite a bit. I just want to be able to see the inside of the daisies because I think it's so pretty. The orange with the yellow. And then you have the little blue flowers in the background. I think it turned out pretty good. So I'm just bending them, trying to make it look pretty. Just keep doing it until I get them where I like them. And I think that looks pretty good. And so what we have is the board was $1.25. The tongue depressor sticks were $1.25. The faux leather was 50 cents. The flowers were $2.50 because there's 2 bunches. And the tacks were $1.25 for a total of $6.75. This DIY, I have one of those metal trays, and I had it in my stash. They didn't, I don't know if they had it at the Dollar Tree. I didn't check. And then I got one of these garden stakes in the garden section with this flower, and I took them outside and I spray painted them. Now it was cold that day, so the spray paint did pretty good on the tray, but not so good on the flower. So the flower, it just kind of muted the colors on it. I'm going to take my black acrylic paint and a sponge dauber, and I'm just going to go daub up and down on the edge of the tray. It has a design on it, and I want that to kind of pop out. And I'm just very lightly doing this. I don't want a lot of paint on it because I want you to be able to see the design. So I'm just very lightly touching the tray with the paint dauber. But you can see on the flower there that, I mean, I coated that with the white spray paint, and it didn't do a whole lot to it at all. And I did use my heat gun to dry the spray paint on the tray and the flower. But yeah, the flower just looks a little muted. But that's okay. I went with it. And now I have some glorious gold paint from Deco Art. It is a metallic paint, and I'm just going around the edge on top of the black paint. Now, it doesn't cover up all the black paint, but it, you know, just brings out a little more of the design from the gold. And I'm very lightly tapping it, even more lightly than I was doing the black. And now I have my Blessed screen stencil, and it is adhesive, and I have my black ink that I'm putting on it, and I don't want to put it on the pound sign. I just want the blessed word and the heart. So I have to say that I feel very blessed blessed for my family, blessed for my church family, blessed for the home that we have, and the vehicles to take us to where we need to go for our health and everything. If you're blessed, please put hashtag blessed in the remarks section, although I know it's not called remarks. What is it called? Sometimes I think I'll lose my mind. Comments, in the comments section. Now I'm just very slowly taking this stencil off. I did fuzz it before I put it on, but it is still sticky and I did not want it to pull up my paint. So I'm just very slowly pulling it off, and it did not pull up any of my paint. Thank you, God. Now, it did bleed a little bit, but it's not too bad. I don't mind it. And then I have another piece of jute that I tied knots on the ends, and I'm going to use that as my hanger. And I did not burn myself during this whole video. I mean, that's saying a lot for me. And this glue in this glue gun gets so hot, it is ridiculous. I mean, you saw in the very first video the steam coming up off of it. So I have my flower here, and I'm just going to put hot glue on that bottom petal and then the center of it, because the bottom petal is going to go on the tray and the center part is going to be on the edge of the tray. I will have to hold it down for a little bit until it sets up. But you'll also have to tell me in the comments which of these 4 DIYs is your favorite. And as you can see, I was able to make 4 DIYs for $20, or around $20. I'll let you know in the end what it was. So for this blessed sign, the oval tray was $1.25 and the flower stake was $1.25. So the total was only $2.50 for this one. Again, let me know which of these 4 is your favorite. I have to say mine is the EAT sign, but you'll have to let me know which one is yours. And I ended up, my total was $20.50, but if you count the spoon and all that separately, it would have been $19.25. See you later.